Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into something fundamental, something core to the United States.
Yeah, we're tackling that big phrase, supreme law of the land.
Exactly. What does that actually mean for the U.S. Constitution? It sounds impressive, sure, but there's a lot packed in there.
There really is. It's not just some fancy title. It dictates how everything works, legally speaking.
Right. It's kind of the operating system,
Yeah.
for the whole government.
That's a great way to put it. And understanding why it's supreme is, well, it's essential if you want to quickly grasp how the U.S. functions. It's foundational knowledge.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We need to go back a bit, right, to 1787.
Yep. Right after independence, things weren't exactly running smoothly.
No, they were under the Articles of Confederation then. And it was, well, a bit of a mess, wasn't it?
A mess is putting it mildly. You had a central government with basically no power. It couldn't tax effectively.
Right. No real central leadership. States were kind of doing their own thing. No teeth, really.
Exactly. No real national authority. It was pretty chaotic. So something had to give.
And that something was the Constitutional Convention. 55 delegates showing up in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm. Their goal was to create something stronger, something that could actually unify the country.
And on September 17th, 1787, they did it. They drafted this document. The one that becomes the
supreme law of the United States, that very framework.
Okay, but why supreme? What gives it that ultimate authority? What makes it stand above, everything else?
Now we're getting to the heart of it. Let's unpack that.
So Article 6, that's the key here, isn't it? The Supremacy Clause.
That's exactly right. Article 6 lays it out pretty explicitly.
What does it say? The key part.
Well, the crucial phrase is, this Constitution and the laws of the United States which shall be made in pursuance thereof shall be the supreme law of the land.
Okay, supreme law of the land. So what does that mean in practical terms, like day-to-day? How does that play out?
It means basically that the Constitution stands above all other laws in the U.S.
All others, including state laws.
Yep. State laws, state constitutions, local ordinances, even acts of Congress or presidential actions. If there's a conflict, the Constitution wins.
So if a state passes a law that goes against what's in the Constitution,
boom, that state law is invalid, unconstitutional.
It's like the ultimate referee in a legal game.
That's a good analogy. It ensures there's one consistent set of fundamental rules for the whole country. The founders knew they couldn't have, 13 different rule books all claiming final authority.
Right. That would just lead back to the chaos they were trying to escape.
Precisely. You need one final arbiter for a truly United States.
And it's not just about striking down laws, is it? The Constitution's supremacy also comes from how it sets up the whole government structure.
Absolutely. This is where it gets really interesting, I think. The Constitution is supreme because it literally creates the federal government.
The three branches, executive, legislative, judicial, they all exist because of the Constitution.
And they all operate under its rules. That's key. It delegates specific powers to each branch and also limits those powers.
Which leads us to checks and balances.
Exactly. The Constitution doesn't just hand out power. It carefully divides it and sets the branches up to, check each other.
So no single branch can just run away with things.
That's the idea. It ensures no one part gets too powerful. Think about it. Presidents have had actions checked by the courts. Congress has passed laws that were later struck down.
All based on whether those actions align with the Constitution.
Correct. And the Supreme Court itself, its power to interpret the law, comes directly from the Constitution. Its decisions, especially the big landmark ones, are all about applying the Constitution as the highest law.
Okay, let's talk about some of those big examples. They really show this supremacy in action, don't they?
They do. Real-world cases make it much clearer than just talking theory.
Like Brown versus Board of Education in 1954. That's a huge one.
A landmark, absolutely. What happened there? The Supreme Court ruled that state laws establishing racial segregation in public schools were unconstitutional.
Right. They violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment.
Exactly. And that ruling effectively overturned segregation laws in many states. That's the Supremacy Clause, flexing its muscles. Federal constitutional principle overruling state law.
Clear example. What about going back even further? Marbury versus Madison.
1803. Foundational stuff. That case is famous because it established the principle of judicial review.
Meaning the courts can strike down laws passed by Congress if they deem them unconstitutional.
Precisely. It was the Supreme Court basically saying, it's our job to interpret the Constitution, and if a law conflicts with it, the Constitution prevails. It solidified the court's role in upholding the Constitution's supremacy.
So these cases really cemented the idea that the Constitution isn't just a suggestion, it's the ultimate authority.
And that the judicial branch has a critical role in enforcing that authority.
But here's the kicker, maybe the most important part. Where does the Constitution actually get this immense power from?
Yeah, this is the beautiful part, really. It doesn't come from a king or a military leader or some divine right.
It comes from
We, the people.
those first three words.
Exactly. The opening of the preamble, it signals that the ultimate source of the Constitution's authority, its supremacy, is the citizens of the United States.
It's based on the consent of the governed.
That's the core idea. Its power flows from you, the people agreeing to be governed under this framework. It's not imposed from above.
And that connects to why it can be changed, right?
Yeah.
It's not set in stone forever.
Right. Because the power ultimately resides with the people also have the power to amend it through a specific, deliberately difficult process. But it can be done.
So if enough people, through their representatives and state processes, agree, even the supreme law can evolve.
Which shows its adaptability, its potential to reflect the changing values and needs of society while still being that fundamental law.
So let's bring it to today. Why does all this history and legal principle matter to someone listening right now? What's the relevance for you?
Well, think about the world we live in. Debates about rights, government power, how democracy should work, they're constant.
Seems like they're more intense than ever sometimes.
Maybe so. And in the midst of all that, the Constitution is meant to be the anchor. It's the shared framework we turn to, the rule book for resolving those fundamental disagreements.
Even if interpreting it causes more debate.
Of course. It's not perfect. It never has been. It's been challenged, pushed, tested, amended. But it remains the ultimate legal foundation for American society.
So when you hear that phrase, supreme law of the land, it's not just rhetoric.
Not at all. It's a statement about legal hierarchy, historical reality, and, importantly, its ongoing function in everyday American life. It shapes your rights, the laws you live under, the very structure of your government.
It's legal, it's historical, and it's very much still real. That's the takeaway.
Definitely. And maybe a final thought to leave you with. Considering that the Constitution can be amended, that its power comes from we the people, what responsibility does that put on all of us, on you today, to actually understand it, to engage with it, and potentially to participate in shaping how it continues to evolve?